And welcome to another Wednesday night.
Woo.
You're doing them good.
And it's Nat and Rob, and
Yep.
I think this is episode 7.
Yep. From what I've just counted up, right, we're doing
Cool.
really good.
Cool. And tonight we thought we were going to talk about something that's been in the news again, a curfew for men.
Okay. Before we go any further, because this one's just actually quite comical. So I think a lot of it's going to be a bit more lighthearted because for me it is kind of funny. But I think we should put out there that we do give statistics which are actually facts, but when it comes to things, a lot of what we say is our opinions. People might not like it, I get that, but opinions are like assholes. We've all got one. But the whole point of what we're doing is this is an opinion piece. We're just vocally doing it instead of typing it out into some newspaper like Clementine Ford. I said that name without flinching.
Okay. Yes, speaking of opinions, it's interesting because we live in an era now when people are growing increasingly intolerant of alternative opinions, and it's very, very worrying. Let me be very clear. I've had feminists tell me what I can and cannot have an opinion on. I mean, feminists are quite good at telling men they can't have an opinion on, say, abortion because they don't have a womb. My view is any person may have any opinion on any subject they choose. If their opinion is terrible, then destroy it with arguments. But don't shut them down, don't cancel them.
Yeah. Look, so as a woman, when it comes, well, we'll touch on that abortion part because that is, I understand where they come from when it's solely women. But when it comes to abortion, and it's something that was actually, I saw today, I've always had the opinion of it, is, yes, it's my body. 100%. I get to choose what I do with my body. But I also don't think it's fair that I get to choose what I do to my body. And if I choose to keep the baby, then that's making a choice for the male to become an instant dad.
Right. So I guess we're diverging a little bit there. Did you want to continue, and then I'll make a few comments?
No, that was my sort of point, is I've got the choice, but I'm making the choice for the male as well.
Yeah. So first of all, for myself, I would probably be described as reluctantly pro-choice. I really, really dislike the idea of abortion.
Yep.
I think whenever possible, we should make it so that women don't feel they need to have an abortion. However, I'm not willing to make it illegal, partly because I don't want to necessarily impose sort of a system on them, views on them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm also a supporter of something that most people won't have heard of, called legal parental surrender. Now, that's sometimes called paper abortion. I'm not a fan of that name. It's only really.
I've heard of that more.
What was that? Sorry?
More.
Yes, it seems to be more common to call it paper abortion, actually, but I prefer legal parental surrender. Anyway, it's at the moment, whereas a lot of concepts have left men's rights and are now in the wider community, this is a concept that's still mostly only in the MR community. Basically, the idea is that whatever rights to abort a woman has in a particular jurisdiction, a man living in that jurisdiction would have an equivalent right to disavow parental responsibility. And that's parental rights and responsibilities there, to clarify. So basically, if a woman could terminate up to 12 weeks, then a man would have 12 weeks from learning that he is a father to issue the relevant paperwork with the government, disavowing paternity.
Yeah.
And so that would equalise the rights again. And I think that is the way forward.
I agree, but as we said, we're getting off topic. It would that just happened to pop up.
And many don't agree, particularly feminists. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah. We'll cover that one in a later one because I actually do think that is I do think this topic is extremely important. Yes. But it's come up again of, I can't even say with a straight face, a curfew on men. So they have to be indoors at 6 o'clock. Now they have stipulated there are things where men who have to work past 6 o'clock, men who have to do this, men who have to do that will break that curfew. But it's still, for me, it's not logical.
See, I think if we're going to do this, it has to be all men. I'm sorry, no exceptions. So if we're going to do this, it has to be all men indoors by 6 p.m. No male police officers, no male firefighters, no male council or government workers who fix problems. All the men get to go indoors. Now, I think that there might even be some advantages. A lot of men would have to work from home, because otherwise it'd be too difficult for them to get home before the curfew kicks in. They'd be spending a lot more time with their families, a lot more time with their kids. I think that there could be quite good if anyone needs to run out at night to the grocery store to get anything. Sorry, it's the woman. So I think there are, it's not, I think maybe we should try it for 3 months, see how it works out.
Give it a go. But let's put some things in perspective here. So let's just say, just for argument's sake, and you know how much I love you, you're the bad guy. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna want to go out and attack someone. But you're gonna turn around and go, okay, so I'm gonna break the law by attacking someone, but I'm not gonna break the law because it's past 6 o'clock.
If there wasn't a curfew, I'd go out and attack someone. Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's right. And there won't be, so the bad guy will go out and do it anyway. And you know who won't be around to help any of the women? The law-abiding men, because they'll be inside. That's right. I actually suggest that such a curfew would increase the risks to women.
Now, the other part of this, and it was actually a video of Isaac Butterfield, but it plays into this. So it was those extreme feminists where they kill all men. Mm-hmm. But they said, with the exception of transgender and non-binary. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's say this bad guy is that won't break the law of the 6 p.m. curfew, but will break the law of attacking someone. Mm-hmm. What makes them think, and this isn't derogatory towards transgender or non-binary, this is actually trying to support them. If this attacker goes out and just says, is walking down the street, looks like a guy, full beard, wearing men's clothes, stereotypical men's clothes, and somebody says, hey, it's past 6 o'clock, you're supposed to be inside, and he turns around and says, but I'm a female, you can't question it.
No. And this is a good point, actually. That's right. So you might find that the gender ratio changes. There's a whole bunch of women suddenly. Exactly. That's right.
And again, it's not derogatory towards the rainbow community, the transgender community, the non-binary community. I'm actually trying to do this to support them and show that people could take advantage of what they're trying to fight for. Like, imagine being stuck in the wrong body. I'm a big girl, and this is, I don't mean this in any derogatory term. I'm a big girl, and I'm stuck in the wrong body because I should be a size 10. But imagine that frame of mind where it actually that body identification dysphoria where you want to commit suicide.
Well, as we've said before, we've talked about it on the previous episode, and there are people, I have no doubt, there are people who genuinely have this problem.
Yep.
And I actually fully support them transitioning. As an adult, I am against children transitioning.
Yeah.
I think they need to be old enough to recognise the ramifications of doing so. But I just encourage people to be fully informed and understand that that's a one-way door, and that they're making changes that are irreversible. If that's the decision they make, then it's their life. They can do that.
I'm with you. I fully support it. I've got transgender friends, and I've explained to them I fully support it after the age of 18.
Yeah,
I know it's a problem about going through puberty, but I actually saw 60 Minutes during the week of where at the age of 12, this child born as a male fought and was like, I'm a female. So at the age of 12, the mother put them on estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
So she started to develop breasts, and at the age of 14, turned around and said, no, I've changed my mind, I am a male. So now they've had to go to England. They've moved to England for privacy reasons. Like when I say privacy reasons, transition and not transitioning in Australia would have caused bullying and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they've moved to the UK, and the only country in the world that will get rid of the breasts on now the young man is in Korea.
Right. Okay.
So this is my stance on it. When you're an adolescent, you don't know who the hell you are. You're just a kid. Go and play in the dirt, fall off your bike, scrape your knee, do what kids do. Even though your sex is male or female, your gender shouldn't be an issue at that age. Going through puberty, now, yes, I'm 50, but I still remember what it was. My brain was like, I was giggling and I liked pop music, and a boy would talk to me and I'd be like, I was such a geek. So I didn't know who I was. I've grown up into this woman, but I was a stereotypical little teeny bopper girl. So I didn't even know who I was as a teenager. It wasn't until I hit adulthood, and I've changed since hitting 18, that we can't expect a child to know really what's going on with their body until it's fully developed. Now, I know it's a tough trot, but I think they need as much counselling and as much therapy as they can get to get through the teenage years. And then once they hit 18, if they still want it, if that was my kid, I'd say, right, okay, let's go and pay for the whole thing, whole kit and caboodle. Let's go do it.
Yeah, it's still young, but we have to draw a line somewhere, and that's what we've decided as a society adulthood is. And so I think that's the point at which it has to be made. As I said, though, I would urge people to be fully informed, because there's a lot of there's a real bias in the narrative at the moment about the process itself. And I would really encourage anyone looking at that to get a variety of opinions, look at the whole process, consider the entirety of your life. This decision will affect you in 20, 40, 60 years' time. So and then make the decision for yourself. But it's the same thing. By the way, I urge the same thing, by the way, with adult circumcision. So virtually all men's rights activists are intactivists as well. We oppose routine infant circumcision, which we call male genital mutilation, and want that to be illegal alongside female genital mutilation. As for adults getting a circumcision, that's their choice if they want to do so. But when I see a man talking about doing it, I urge him to understand the ramifications and be informed.
Yeah.
Because again, there's a lot of people there's a lot of biased information out there. And I do see, and there are a lot of people who have circumcisions done. I know we're getting a bit off topic. Have circumcisions done and regret it later as adults. So, but if we're on that topic, I just want to say there are a variety of alternatives now. Sometimes doctors don't mention them. There are topical creams and stretching exercises that have been proven to be successful in a high proportion of cases. If that fails, there's even a procedure called the dorsal slit, which is less severe than a circumcision. So there's all sorts of options available now. And the circumcision, I would suggest, should really be the last resort.
Yeah. And I'm glad we're bringing up, because tonight's topic is as important as it is ridiculous. But all these different things we are bringing up where we're getting off topic are all things we want to discuss throughout our shows.
That's right. In fact, I don't think we've talked about having an episode on circumcision yet, but I think that would be a really great episode. Who knows? I'm thinking of a very well-known intactivist in the US who perhaps we could invite onto the show.
Oh, I wonder who that could be.
Oh, I might reach out to him and ask him if he's available.
Yeah, that he would be good on, because I don't know whether I should say this. No, I won't say, because they might kill me. So, but
that would be bad.
As a woman, as a mother, I'll put it this way: as a mother, I didn't leave the decision up to me because I don't have one. Last time I checked, I left the decision up to his father.
I've heard women say that before. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. But that's it's it'd be like, oh no, men have breast cancer. It'd be like circumcision is different for women, as far as in a popular first world problem. If I decided to have myself tightened down there, it'd be my decision. You can't tell me what it's like, what the pros and cons are, because you don't have one. But I can say, as a mother, I couldn't have made the decision. If I was a single mother from day one, I could not have made the decision.
Yeah, so I have seen a number of women take that position. So anyway, shall we
we'll get back onto the curfew?
Curfew, right. So, getting back to safety, I think, in terms of, first of all, in terms of the fact that there wouldn't be any law-abiding men out there to help the women if they got attacked. And I want to just emphasize a point here that contrary to what feminists will often tell you, men are far more likely to help a woman than ever to hurt a woman. It really, at a very basic level, it really goes against the male psyche to hurt women. So it is not typical male behaviour, and men who hurt women are very much in the minority. In actual fact, men are far more likely to try to protect women, even at the expense of their own safety, even if they don't know the woman. And they're far more likely to do that than they are with a man, for example. They may well help a weaker man, or certainly a child or whatever, a boy, but they're far more likely that if a woman's in trouble, that they'll almost instinctively, a lot of men almost instinctively jump in and help. Those men certainly wouldn't be around. And I think there's a second reason why women would be less safe too, and that's that the vast majority of emergency responders are men. And this would mean they would not be around. And if there was some sort of crisis, the men would all be home, and they wouldn't be there to help any of the women who are now in trouble.
It's not even the women's safety. It's like if anything goes wrong, you said it. Like a majority of the men are first responders, so police officers, firemen, ambulance, SES, all of that. So if there's a major fire, who's going to be fighting it? It's at 6:01.
And in actual fact, so I don't know the figure for fireys, but for police, it's typically around about 15% female here in Australia. I'm fairly certain that's true for Queensland Police, and that's probably fairly typical. Those 15% of women are doomed to do night work because the other 85% wouldn't be able to. And for the fireys, it's probably even worse. So basically, there'd be crews of female firefighters forced to work at night because none of the men could. So this is why I think it's important for no exceptions.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'd be the ones going to the fire, but there won't be many of them. There might be very thin on the ground. So
there was. We always do research whenever we choose a topic, or if I say this is what I want to talk about, I've already done my research. You do the research for the week, and vice versa. So for this one, there's not a lot. There was just YouTube videos. And there was a couple of good points brought up on a woman's panel, American panel show. So it wasn't The View or The Talk. It was something like that. And they said that women could attack just as easily, because the people that they asked for feedback on this, how would you feel? And it was like, I could go jogging with my headphones in. I could go shopping at stupid o'clock at night. One of the panels says I could go out in my Ugg boots and jeans and go and my little short shorts and go shopping without getting wolf whistled. And I've got to be careful with what I say. I don't agree with the wolf whistle, but the wolf whistle isn't attacking you.
It's also an interesting topic I think we should talk about one day.
Okay. Yeah. That's another one.
Exactly.
I do think there is, again, I don't think it's right. The wolf whistle isn't attacking you. It's probably just a bunch of blokes doing scaffolding, sitting there, and a pretty girl walks past and it's woohoo, and then they go back to work.
Always the builders. And
feeling you up. There was, I can't believe I'm going to admit this, I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race. And, shut up. And and one of the guys came out and was talking. So he does this whole queen, where he's dressed up as a queen, looks amazing. And they were talking about that a majority of the audience is females. And he said that he's been assaulted by the audience to the point where one girl shoved her thumb up his butt. So girls can just be as sexually as aggressive as men. Now, as a female, I have been to male strip clubs and I've been to female strip clubs with my male mates. Now, with the female strip clubs, I've seen guys just sit back and go, woohoo, take it off, let me see your tits and your pink bits and all that. Girls go nuts when it comes to male. They are like clawing at them and are like, it's disgusting. These guys are scared. There's more security at male strip clubs and male strip reviews and then there is at the females. Because guys are just too busy getting drunk. They just want to see a pair of tits and go on. These girls are like ripping the clothes off these guys. So how can one gender go out in public at 6 o'clock at night and the other one stay at home, because the one staying at home is the aggressor of sexual assaults. Now, I'm not saying the statistics are higher when it comes to this, the men are probably the bigger sexual aggressor, but there are parts where we don't recognize the female as the sexual aggressor because it's just a girl. She's just mucking around.
There's a lot of bias in the system too, in terms of unwillingness for police to pursue some matters like that. And I saw that myself when I was in the police. Now I'm gonna make a statement. I was going to leave this for another episode, but seeing as we've sort of gone into this topic, okay. If we take, now I want to be very clear here, if we take the feminist definition of sexual assault, okay, not a definition that most people would consider reasonable, but the feminist definition of sexual assault, most men have been sexually assaulted by a woman, because it includes unwanted kissing, it includes unwanted grabbing of the bum, it includes genitals being rubbed on the person without consent, with clothes on. All those things are covered by this feminist definition of sexual assault, and it's a nearly universal male experience to have had that happen to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where a girl can go up and pat a guy on the butt and nothing's thought twice about it. But a guy does it to a girl and it's sexual assault.
He's lost his job, he could be in jail.
Yeah. But
right.
if I do it to one of my work colleagues, God, I never would do it. But if I was to do it, they wouldn't think twice about it.
Even if you got called out on it, it would be nothing more than a verbal warning from HR. Yeah. It really would. Yeah.
And this is what I don't get. The aggressive part I get might be a bit different. Like it could be a bit different. But the one person if I'm out in public and I'm getting attacked, whether it's male or female, it doesn't matter who's attacking me. I'm going to feel more secure if there's a guy dragging that person off me than a female. As sexist as that sounds, we actually know that men are physically stronger.
Yeah, especially with upper body strength. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether, it's got nothing to, I could be a black belt in karate. Yes, I'd be able to defend myself. But I'm not. So the person who's attacking me, male or female, I want the person rescuing me to be psychologically thought as stronger, which is going to be a male.
Yes, I see what you mean. From even there's the strength, and then there's the fact that known to be stronger as well. That's right, because someone may not arc up if they know that there's somebody stronger there who's going to stop them.
Yeah,
because they avoid the problem in the first place. Yeah,
if the attacker, if the person who's attacking me is however strong, if a female comes up to help me, it doesn't matter whether they are a black belt or they're as weak as a feather. The person's mentality, the attacker's mentality is, this person is a female, isn't as physically strong as me. Where if a male, they go, this is a male who's defending me, who's grabbing me.
Yeah.
I don't know, because they're a male, I don't know whether they're stronger or not. You want the men out there, you want the protection out there, because it's the attacker's not male or female, the attacker's the attacker.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's an unfortunate point that comes up when we point out the number of men who are victims of violence, and to which feminists will invariably respond, well, the attacker's a man as well. I don't think it really matters in terms of when someone's being attacked. It probably doesn't matter to them much if they happen to share a gender with the person who's harming them. So I think it's a very weak argument that feminists use.
It's something I said during the week. We can't blame the people. We've got to blame the person. So the person that's attacking me is the person I'm going to blame. Exactly. Now, I live in a part of Melbourne that's got a particular ethnic community with young teens where people have been attacked. There's gangs. It was even hit the news of one guy who was brutally beaten in a park in my area, like in my suburb, and it hit the news. The guy survived, but it was the fiance didn't think he would, and this guy's been in the army, but they got one good shot on him and then kicked the daylights out of him from there. And it was the gang itself, even though they were this ethnic group, were both male and female. Mm-hmm. The first person to get arrested from this ethnic group was a female.
Oh, right.
The person they were looking for was another female, because that's who was caught on the tape.
Right.
Now, it'd be no different than, because of this one attack just after New Year's, if they said, okay, this specific ethnic group isn't allowed out after 6 o'clock.
Could you imagine if that happened? We have words for that sort of thing.
Exactly. But what's the difference? Yeah, I want to know what the difference is. Yeah. It's not the people. This ethnic community didn't attack this man. These people did.
Yeah.
This particular group did.
That's right. That's right.
Not the whole ethnic community. And this is what I mean. We've got to stop blaming men on one person's crime.
That's right. It's a form of collective guilt, which is not supposed to be lawful. It's collective collective offence, and it's not supposed to be enforceable in law to punish a group of people for the actions of one person.
Yeah, but you've got people like Clementine Ford, and who's that other woman who was who went on the panel, and she used to do the morning show.
Yeah, I'm not sure who you mean. Sorry, I probably should.
Not the panel. What's that? The Project.
Lisa Wilkinson.
Thank you. Where she said, it's not the women. We've got to stop all men. It's not all men.
No, that's right.
Out
that's
of
what
100 men, you'll have 2 that are assholes. But guess what? Out of 100 women, you'll have 2 that are absolute bitches.
Yeah, that's right. That was the point I was making before. It's not typical male behaviour, and this is something I think we need to say a lot more. And the other point I want to reiterate is that men are far more likely to protect a woman than ever to harm a woman.
Yeah.
So if you want to increase the risk to women, get rid of the men.
Yeah, and it's it does piss me off because I've got a 22-year-old son, and he works nights, and so it stops him from working, so it stops him from bringing in the money, and he works in a restaurant, so and it's. Look, my sister put up a beautiful post that actually made me cry a couple of weeks ago, and she said it's an unpopular topic of men's issues, and it is unpopular, but it's also things that need to be heard. It's not. I saw an old post of during the week of in Canada of some type of, I think it was a professor who brought up the red pill that she'd never seen and said that, the MRAs are all misogynists and patriarchy, and it had all to do with sex. And it's like, no. And I actually saw one today with Cassie J where she said, we don't want to stop the women from getting what they've already got. We support that. We don't even want a piece of their pie. Have all the pie. But we've got to, and men have got to be recognised. Men have got to be recognised as male victims of domestic violence. Men have got to be recognised as victims of sexual assault. And I'm talking about by women. Men have got to be recognised for this. Men have got to be recognised for that. There's everything that women are recognised for as a victimhood. Men have to be recognised in the same way because it happens to men.
Yeah, a lot of these things are not gendered, even though the feminists pushing this position, they're not gendered.
And that, it's that there's 2,000 places for women to go as far as DV in America, where there's only one place for men.
Yeah, it's very, very small.
How many is there in Australia for women? And one for men, and it's in Bundaberg?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. There've been very, very small number of shelters for men. There's one in Bundaberg, as you note, Jeremiah House. There is another one actually on the Gold Coast that's associated with the Australian Brotherhood of Fathers. I can't think of the name offhand, unfortunately, but that will be on. I'm sure the ABF website would have information on that. There was one in Canada for a while, but it closed for lack of. It wanted to get some government support and and when that didn't come through, they had to close. That was run by a gentleman by the name of Earl Silverman. Earl Silverman ended his own life not long after, unfortunately. So that was it. There've been a small number of shelters that reportedly offer men vouchers for hotels for a few days, but in North America, I haven't heard of anyone doing that here. But a few vouchers will apparently offer men and their families vouchers for a few days at least. But even that, I think, is something like only 8% of all of the shelters. So yeah, it's tiny.
And let's just for Jeremiah House, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't I remember when it all came out and I was so excited, but it's mainly for fathers with children, so it gives them somebody to get their children out of harm's way as well as themselves.
Yes, I believe that's right.
Yeah, so that's great. That's fantastic. Children come first. Get the children out of harm's way. But where are the men supposed to go? Where the children have grown up and left home, or they never had children, or it's a toxic relationship. We're not always talking about physical violence. I showed you an ad the other day and it was a mobile ad where you could tell it was a toxic acting, but you could tell it was a toxic relationship where she was actually very controlling of the male. And it's like, with this curfew, you are highlighting more about the reason why MRAs exist. Now, I'm with Cassie J. I'm not a feminist. I do support women's issues, but I wouldn't classify myself as MRA. I do classify myself as a huge men's issues supporter, more so than the women's issues, because they've already got, 1 million people in the battle. We've only got 1,000. Exactly
right. That's right. And that was. I'm quite fortunate that I never got affected as badly as many men. I have run into some of these problems in my personal life, but never to the extent that a lot of men have. But when I made the decision to get involved, a motivating factor for me was how few people there were standing up for men.
That's it. And that's the same for me. And I've said it the whole time, and I don't think I've faltered. I think it's going to be a woman's voice that's going to help push this out more so. Because who wants to listen to the male? Because all they do is, wow, Clementine Ford, all men do is whinge, 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 whinge.
With it.
That's what Clementine Ford says. She actually said it about her child.
That's awful.
And then she puts in, only joking.
Yeah,
well,
of course.
I'm not joking, okay?
It's always a joke. Yeah.
It can't always back it up as I was only joking. The same thing she said last year is, why aren't more men dying from COVID? All men are rapists. Kill all men. I was only joking. Stop joking.
That's right. It doesn't excuse everything.
If you said it, no, I could say it. But if you say kill all women, and all women are racists, and all women are twinge. you wouldn't exist.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Look, it doesn't excuse those sort of statements. It's often used as a cover up to, especially when they realise they've gone a little bit far. But it doesn't excuse those sort of statements at all. No, especially when it's the same joke being rotated, being repeated over and over and over. It's not funny anymore. There are even ones that maybe they were funny the first time, but after it's been repeated ad nauseum, it's not funny anymore.
No, but it's things that just shouldn't be said. It's, I look, trust me, I've said the joke of, what men know about women, and it's like a whole book like this big, and it's all blank pages. How do you tell if a man's lying? His lips are moving. We've these are just bantery jokes. But when you say stuff like all men are rapists and kill all men, and why aren't more men dying of COVID, or all men are whingers, or Shirley Moody, who I personally love to death, when she said that thing about the firefighters last November, it was disgusting.
Yes.
And they don't seem to understand that as much as the hatred they got, as much as hatred Shirley Moody got, and her page was inundated with it, that she also had people defending what she said.
A lot of other prominent feminists were smart enough to metaphorically step away from her when she said that. A lot of them did realise that she crossed the line there.
She did cross the line, but there was other people that came in and said, "Oh, you misunderstood what she said." I didn't misunderstand nothing. No. She said these firefighters, after fighting our fires, after saving our homes, after saving people's lives, are going to go home and beat up their wives.
Yeah, it's awful.
Where if these are the men that are saving our lives. And there was the perfect example. These men saved our lives.
Yeah.
Men and women. Don't get me wrong. Women were out there fighting as well. But, what is it? If let's say it's even 50-50. 50% of the firefighters saved lives, farms, houses, property, jobs, the whole lot. The whole kit and caboodle. People were sleeping on the beach to get away from the fires, and these people were in the fires.
That's right. Absolutely.
If men go off the streets at 6 o'clock, that's 50% of those people that are in these fires trying to stop them, where you don't have to sleep on the beach.
In actual fact, we know it's higher than that because there were targets, I think, in Victoria, and they failed to make the targets. So it's definitely, it's well over 50%.
Well, it's well over 50%, but I was just trying to be fair. Let's say it's 50-50 just for the feminists. Take away that 50%. Take away the 50%. Who are you going to call? If you're an emergency, okay, not you and I, but who's Shirley Moody going to call if her house is on fire? The firefighters or a feminist?
Yeah, that's right.
And when the firefighters come to her door to help save her, is she going to turn around and go, "No, you're a male. I don't want you saving me. Go away, because you're going to go home and beat up your wife because this is too stressful for you. I want the female."
Not going to happen. Yep, not going to happen. And speaking of which, a couple of other types of problems that are likely to occur overnight and that almost certainly cause problems if there was a curfew for men. Ones I've actually witnessed myself, and probably a lot of people have, burst water mains, in which the proportion of the people who are going to fix that are overwhelmingly men, and problems with the electrical system as well, with the grid. So if there's a problem overnight, if any of those sort of problems happen, the water's probably going to keep flooding out through much of the night. And if there's a problem with the grid, the power's going to stay off until dawn. So until the men can come out again. So now, I was just going to say, if anybody thinks that that this is just a joke and that the feminists wouldn't really do that. And I have to say, when I spoke at the March for Men in 2018, I mentioned it, and I suggested at the time they probably weren't serious. Now it's recently come out that the First Minister, or whatever they happen to call themselves in Wales with devolved parliaments in the UK, has not ruled out the possibility of a curfew for part of the community in the event of a crisis. What they appear to be talking about is if there was, say, some man who was going around assaulting women, for them to order a curfew for men in Wales. So there's at least one government that's now come out and said that it's at least on the cards. So don't think for a minute that this is just.
This is why I do laugh at it, because it's so idiotically stupid.
It really is stupid.
The fact that it's on the cards, the fact that they're even contemplating it,
yes,
is fundamentally stupid.
Yes.
As I said, if I get attacked, regardless of the agenda of my attacker, regardless of the species, I could be getting attacked by a dog.
Mm.
The person I want saving me is somebody who's physically strong and mentally, whether we like it or not, is a male.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm a big girl. I should be able to beat all of you in an arm wrestle, but I could get a friggin' skeleton arm wrestling me and he would still beat me 5 times out of 6. It doesn't, the body shape doesn't matter. It actually has to do with physical bodily strength. It does have to do with testosterone. And it does
It's interesting, actually. So in terms of testosterone, obviously causes greater strength. By the way, for those who don't know, there is a small proportion of the community, now it's very small, and they're not necessarily all feminists, okay, who actually believe that that given the same exposure to exercise and nutrients and so forth, there would be no distinction between men and women in terms of body size. They actually believe that it's simply about the way people are treated when they're born that causes men to be taller and stronger. But back in the real world, testosterone increases muscle mass and so forth, particularly upper body. But there's some other interesting effects. It increases bone density, and one that I think may only have been found recently, or at least I only found out about it recently, is that male and female joints are different, and they seems to be that male joints can take quite a lot more punishment. So, and this means with if you've got sort of heavy repetitive activities going on, this at least partly explains why you do see women having quite a lot more injuries in certain activities. The male joints are just able to sort of take that punishment for a bit longer. So there's all sorts of interesting effects with testosterone. Obviously, there are other effects as well, and they're not all positive. Men pay a price in some ways for that. The way I always look at it, an organism has a certain amount of energy, okay? The energy that comes into its body, right? It's got to do things, it's got to survive with that energy. There's trade-offs. So if men are stronger with greater bone density, something else has to give in order for the equations to work. Now, obviously, men do consume more food, but nevertheless, it's all about energy. And so you end up with this situation where you end up with men being a little bit better in some ways and women being a little bit better in other ways.
Yeah, I do. This is it's like one of those. It's like that nagging flea or gnat that flies around your head and you keep on swatting it away. It's annoying that people aren't seeing how stupid this is. I can't think of another word other than pathetically stupid.
You're right. It's not a word I use often, but I think it is actually fully justified in this case. It is stupid. It is absolutely stupid to suggest that you could order a gender to have a curfew. And you couldn't enforce it. It would have to be self-enforced on the part of the men.
Yeah,
because
we brought up a couple of jobs where it's traditionally men, but yeah, we've also, if my plumbing goes out and I call a plumber, 99% of the time, the one that's going to come out and fix my toilet is a male.
Yep.
Today, I had my my gas looked at, it was a male. Tomorrow I'm getting my smoke detectors looked at. Bet you it's going to be a male.
Sometimes they're called the invisible jobs. There's a whole bunch of jobs that are needed to keep an industrialized society functioning, and they're virtually all male.
Yeah,
and that's if men got sick, for example, if all men got sick for some reason, society would grind to a halt. The food wouldn't move, food would be wasted, water pipes would break, electricity would stop functioning. We'd be in serious trouble.
and we're not saying that there's women that don't do these jobs. It's just a majority of it are men.
Yep.
Truck drivers, majority men.
That's right.
And these are the ones that are bringing food to your table. Your cashiers at the supermarket, let's just say, it's mainly female. The ones stocking the shelves and the ones at the back, mostly men.
Yep.
The ones bringing the food from A to B, majority of men. And this is not a sexist thing. It just is reality.
And sometimes they claim that there's discrimination in those professions, but at least today, to a large degree, most of those professions are trying to recruit women and often failing to meet their targets.
Yeah, but why does there have to be a quota to fill? Why isn't the person best for the job, regardless of their gender? Why aren't they hiring the best person for the job? Why is this quota that has to be fixed? Now, we've just had International Women's Day. Woohoo me! I just got celebrated for being a woman, and I support it. But I'm going to support International Men's Day on November the 19th also.
And of course, just a reminder that the United Nations has 8 days for women and 0 days for men. International Men's Day is not an official celebration, despite last year what some people tried to claim. The United Nations considers it to be World Toilet Day. So that's November 19th, but we will be celebrating International Men's Day.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. And we're going into an hour, so we wanted tonight to be quick, but it hasn't been for obvious reasons. There's all these, we understand that I don't understand the quotas. That we have to have this many males or we have to have this many females. What about the best person for the job? So I work in a company that's basically 50-50, right? And it's got nothing to do with quotas or anything. They actually have hired the people they believe at the time are the best people for the job. Whether they work out or not, the time that they hired them, their gender had nothing to do with it. We've got transgenders working for us. We've got all nationalities. We've got all sexualities, all of that. We've got all ages. Like when they hired me, it was a group interview. There was me and there was somebody who was in the 30s and then somebody who was in the early 20s. So I was in my late 40s, mid 30s, so age and everything. So I work in a very good company as far as there's no discrimination whatsoever. But they don't have a quota to fill out of this is the amount of females and this is the amount of males. But why are places like the police force, the army, the plumbers, truck drivers, all this, why is there a quota? Why are they saying, come on, we want more women? It's like, no, we want more people that can do the job.
At its most basic level, diversity is seen as an end unto itself, I think is probably the simplest answer to that, where diversity is not just, they see diversity as the end point. So they argue that we're better off if they have a more diverse group of people. I would suggest the most important form of diversity is diversity of thought, and that's what they're not getting, unfortunately. So if they really want diversity, say at the top, have diversity of thought, not diversity of gender or even ethnicity or anything like that.
Because if you're talking about more diversity of gender and not of thought, as you've put it, I do want to touch base on the truck drivers for this. Most female truck drivers are more butch than the guys. Not always, but are more butch than the guys. But you're not going to get a lipstick, fake hair, fake lips, fake lashes, all in pink. Pretty, hi, how are you, girl, jumping out of a truck?
Might not be their job so much.
Well, no. Oh, no, they bounce. But you're not going to get that type of girl driving a truck, especially the ones that get the phones and take the selfies and make sure the filter's on them. Lips are sticking out and, you know, it's coming from up here and everything. You're not going to get those type of girls driving a truck. The girls that you get driving a truck are either the extremely butch ones that are straight, but extremely butch ones. Women, I'm going to say like me, they can keep up with the banter, you don't give a shit what you say. You know, it's like water for ducks back, and I'll give it as good as I take it. Or they're the type of females that these male-dominated jobs attract.
Yep.
Only because the pretty little, and again, I don't mean this derogatory, but the pretty little bimbo type image that you've got in your head. And it's nothing wrong with it. Not degrading it. I'm just trying to put an image together. You know, acrylic nails, fake hair, fake eyelashes. Yes, I actually do my makeup every Wednesday night for the show. Okay, but trust me, from my waist down, it's like one of those news reporters. They look like all suited up here, and down below, it's like they're in boxer shorts. Think of that type of thing. I'm not going to stand up, but I put my makeup on for the show. But trust me, the rest of the time, it comes off the second I turn off this thing. I'm wiping it all off my face. I do wear makeup to the office, but I work in an office. I don't wear it for anybody else. There's a lot of females in there that don't wear makeup. I wear it because it makes me feel comfortable. But you're not going to get, it's like, how can I put this? Like a lipstick lesbian, lipstick female, not lesbian, the lipsticky, fake hair, acrylic nails, big boobs, those duck lip, cat's ass type lips when they take a selfie. You're not going to get those girls driving a truck, doing, getting your crap out of the toilet, fixing the gas, fixing the electricity. You're not going to get those type of girls at midnight doing those types of things.
So,
but
I actually co-wrote an article on A Voice for Men. Now, I think actually one of the authors, I won't say anyone else's name, but I co-wrote it with a couple of other people. So on A Voice for Men, it's actually about a female truck driver. So it was interesting. We were talking about differences, gender differences. Now, of course, there are innate gender differences, but I've always maintained that the similarities far outweigh the differences. Just we tend to focus on the differences. And we used as an example, actually, this particular female truck driver here in Australia. So anyway, that article's up on A Voice for Men. I must go and dig that out, actually. Maybe I'll post it in the comments, posted below the video.
But am I right in assuming that the girls, the females that usually do, I'm using truck drivers for an example, the girls that usually do the truck driving are usually they're just as witty, they're just as smart, they're just like a bloke with a great set of teeth.
People are going to gravitate towards that type of work because it matches their personality. Yeah.
And that's it. It's a personality trait. I'm a office trait where I can have the banter, and it's an office type banter. But I can go and have drinks with the truck drivers. I was taught very well by my mother to be able to talk to all.
Yes, that's very important.
Regardless of their level.
Do that.
Yeah, and I was lucky. I was lucky. And it just irritates me that people don't seem to understand that because of these male-dominated jobs, if we put a curfew on, it's
we're all
fall
dependent
apart.
on. Yeah, we are all dependent on these people who do these what I called invisible jobs.
Yeah.
They're almost exclusively men. They're not exclusively men, but they are almost exclusively men. And there are a lot of them. There are things like refrigerator repair people and elevator repair people and various things you just don't think about normally. But if they're not there to do the work they need to do, society grinds to a halt. And I just wanted to make a comment about the concept of independence. From time to time, I hear feminists saying they're independent. Well, let me say, for almost everybody, independence is an illusion. You are dependent on a vast array of people every day. If you're going to live in a society like ours, a vast array of people every day who you will never meet. And you are dependent on them for your survival. Independence for almost everybody is an illusion. The difference is I don't claim to be independent. I recognize that. So let's be clear here. The vast majority of those people who are doing those invisible jobs are men. I'm a man. I'm just as dependent on those people as the women are. So so we need those people. We need them to do those jobs. A lot of that work is actually done at night, and maybe. Or if I could leave everybody with a few final thoughts as we're closing and just past over an hour, think about where your food came from. Think about all the people who are involved in getting that to you. Think about and keeping it safe, keeping it to the point where it turns up at the supermarket wrapped, and it's not just food that's there, it's food that you know is clean and that you can take home and cook and eat. And think about the lights being on and how reliable the electricity is today, much more even than when I was a kid. And think about all these things in our society. People make that happen. And the vast majority of those people are men, and they're outside working in poor conditions.
And they just won't see it. They will only see what is like even forgetting the supermarkets. I'm going to order a menu log, or I'm going to order pizza or something. Majority of the drivers are male. Majority of the people who were, let's say you go to if you order menu log, you're not doing it at Macca's, you're doing it at some Chinese restaurant or something. The majority of the cooks at the back are men. So you're not logically thinking of, as you said, these invisible workers that we need to do
all the different ingredients, even that go into making your typical pizza, and where they all came from. And they've all ended up there, so you can have a pizza for $5.
Yeah, we're just not thinking of it logically.
No.
Exactly for those invisible workers, and especially exactly for the transgender community and the non-binary community, because it's the invisible workers that aren't going to be seen, and it's the transgender and the non-binary that their positions in life that they've been fighting for is going to be abused, because they're going to turn around and go, oh no, I'm allowed out because I'm a male, or I'm allowed out because I'm non-binary, I don't see myself as a male.
Yes, absolutely.
And that what they've been fighting for is no dissimilar to what we're fighting for,
and it would
to
be
seen, heard, and be treated as equals. That's right. And that's going to be abused.
It would be co-opted. Yes. So we've gone a little bit over an hour. Any final thoughts, Nat, before we wrap up?
That was my final thoughts. Was we have to support our invisible workers, and we have to support the transgenders, the any trans community and any non-binaries. Whether I believe in it or not is irrelevant. Whether you believe in it or not is irrelevant. The fact is these communities are fighting for the same things we're fighting for, to be seen,
Mm.
And as soon as if this was to happen,
you're right. It would be an abuse of what they've achieved.
They would be abusing what these people are fighting for.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
And there'll be no different than those horrible people that turn around and say they're gay and bisexual and transsexual and transgender and transvestite and all part of the LGBTQ community, when somebody turns around and puts pedophilia on them. This is what's going to happen. Pedophilia got labeled on them. They're not pedophiles. These are normal, everyday human beings that are just born a different way than the typical, and I hate the term, but I will use it in this one with respect, the stereotypical cisgender. They're just not of society's norms when it comes to cisgender.
Yeah. So can I say something on that point, on that term, actually? So when I first heard that term, it felt a bit made up, actually. Okay, cisgender, transgender. But then I remembered something. So I'm a bit of a history geek, okay? And in the Roman Republic, there was a province called Cisalpine Gaul and another province called Transalpine Gaul. So in actual fact, cis effectively means closer or the same, and trans meant across. So I suppose in that sense, the term cis is the complement to trans. Yeah. So it probably is the right term to use.
Yeah, and I do hate the term because I love labels. I always say put as many labels on me as you want, because the more labels you put on me, the more original I am. I don't like the term cisgender because it's only been used in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, I will use it because it's the correct situation to use it. As a cisgender, we haven't had to fight for what we are. As anybody else of the LGBTQ community, and I'm sure there's a couple of other letters, so please forgive me if I've missed them, they've had to fight for what they automatically are. We don't have to come out the closet and go, hey, I'm straight. Mum, I've got something to tell you. It's really hard. I'm straight. Or, Mum, Dad, I've got something to tell you. It's really hard. I'm not a female. I'm a male. Imagine, it must be such a hard mentality to have in your brain to feel uncomfortable about saying who you are to your family. And even though there's families that are accepting of that and are supportive of that, it still must be hard to say that I'm not part of society's version of norm. Now, and then for people to come along and abuse that is heartbreaking, because
that's a really good point.
That's if they're going through enough mental anxiety as it is, living with how society is now going to view them, even though it's becoming more and more acceptable, it's still not the norm. And people are going to abuse that, just like people chucked pedophilia onto this community because they didn't agree with it.
Yep. And as for my final thought, I just want to reiterate, I made it before actually, about independence. For almost everybody, independence is an illusion, especially if you live in an industrialized society. And on that, I think we should say good night.
We should say good night, because that's the longest we've gone where it's just been the two of us.
Exactly. Thanks very much, Nat.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye. Subscribe, do what you have to do down here on YouTube on both channels. Take care, guys.
Bye.